the time is now. The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you. You know, I lived in the suburbs sometimes where, you know, I was known as the black kid, and I lived in the hood where I was known as a kid that spends his summers in the suburbs. And my dad, you know, was a military brat, and, you know, he would be, you know, around, you know, white people back then when it was like racism was really popular and people would be racist against him. And he'd get around, you know, black people and they kind of discriminate against him because they'd say he acted white or he talked white. So there's times where, you know, when I talk, you'll hear some of that white, or what people call white, the suburb voice come through, and it's times you'll hear some of that Chicago come through, and I'm influenced by all those things. I lived in China when I was in 5th grade with my mother. She's an English professor, and she taught high-level English students, and it was kind of like my first you know, hint towards being a celebrity, because they hadn't seen black people on TV, so people would stare at me all the time. But what happened is I got homeschooling, and when I came back and I took my test, I tested 2 grades above. And that was the first spark where I realized that I was being held back on purpose. And there's a lot of times in life where we're being held back on purpose, meaning like, you know, at the moment that people hate me the most for, you know, at the award show, that was inaccurate. Whether it was a plan to give Beyonce the award at the end of we still haven't seen a video as good as that video.
It's still the greatest video.
Like 5 years later, it still hasn't been a video that good. And that very thing is gonna be what the kids who now have Instagram and can't be controlled by radio, and can't be controlled by TV, they will never, and no knock, I love the Backstreet Boys songs, so if any of them are listening, no knock to them, but there will never be another Backstreet Boys, not in this day and age. It's gonna be artists like Lorde, you know, singer-songwriters in this day and age that are gonna come up. This is Instagram, this is the information highway. It's just, look, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna influence, and I'm just gonna be me to the fullest. Because it's also with my approach, you know, it's a certain point of a level of like frustration, because waiting for everyone to agree may take too long.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit inside of a corporation for 20 years. The time is now. The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.